Welcome all to the Town of New Paltz Planning Board meeting of June 23rd, 2014. First up is a review and approval of the minutes of June 9th. Any comments, questions?
Nope. Motion to approve.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
Tom? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody here for a public comment? I see we all have applicants in it often, but... All right. I don't see anybody else here from the public, so we'll just move right along.
How are you?
Good. Now,
You should have
just tell us, yeah,
what's going on.
yeah.
We made 3 changes to the site plan, plus changes to the landscape plan during construction. And so we're back
Right.
to discuss them. Probably the simplest one is we moved the sidewalk from the front, in the front yard, from dead center of the building to parallel to the driveway. I don't know if you've all seen the building.
I've seen that, yeah.
Which makes it's more logical on the site. It helps with circulation to the rear, and it allows the stormwater in the front to be fully channelized to the rear infiltration area. We added a landscape retaining wall on the westerly side of the parking lot, and there's photos. Second part of the sheets. You may recall that there is a infiltration area in this part of the property, which is in the back between the pine trees and the parking lot. The way the grading plan was originally set up, it would have meant that we would have killed all of those pine trees. And this is just a much better arrangement. So we added this landscape retaining wall. And we raised the finished floor height of the first floor a foot from the plus or minus on the original plan. And the drainage is better, the site is better as a result. I don't remember if there's another issue of significance.
Everything that I had, there's been some redo of the drainage, creating a few more swales. I was out there when it was raining, it works.
We installed all of the parking as permeable paving instead of the 6 spaces we needed to have. So,
How tricky is that to keep clean? Because isn't that the trick with the permeable paving? You have to clean it.
Oh, yeah.
looks beautiful. I don't know, we'll find out. Come see it. What?
I thought it was a problem with plowing. Just curious.
Well, Mark Massio installed it, we'll be plowing it, so.
Okay.
But I am curious about how that works in terms of the permeable paving, because ideally
It's what it is. It's not the pavement that's permeable. It's bricks with 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch spacing between them and small crushed stone between it. So I don't think it's going to be an issue in terms of dirt clogging it or anything like
So
that.
it's not the pervious blacktop stuff.
That's correct.
There's 10 inches of crushed stone under that as well. So
That's right.
It's well drained.
You can see it in this picture here.
So the blacktop is the more conventional
The
blacktop.
blacktop is the driveway only.
Just out of curiosity, how would you say cost-wise that compares to blacktop?
I'd have to confirm it with Mark, but it's probably about 4 times the price per square foot. Yeah.
But it's not units that they're putting down, it's just bricks and iron 4 in between, or?
They are regular, or maybe, no, they're larger, they're like, what, 6 by 12 maybe, bricks that have little star-like protuberances that keep them separated from each other as you lay them down. In this case,
So they're
they're all
linked together.
hand-laid
Okay.
and interlocked.
What keeps the fines between the bricks from going down into the crushed stone? You put fabric down, or what do you do?
Well, it's not fines in the sense of stone dust, but it is fine material. But no, there's no fabric between the material between the bricks and the crushed stone below. But below the crushed stone, we did put road fabric down.
Is it gonna migrate, are you gonna have to replace it, or?
Good question. It might,
Every 6 months, we could take a site visit.
yeah,
There's metal guards around the perimeter of it. so it
As
won't-
well.
It won't move.
yeah.
Now, the slope on the west side, the swale there, just seemed like pretty steep. How is that stabilized?
Well, it's now
I mean, I see a swale there, I see
it
trees
was a
there.
swale. You mean
But there,
Yeah,
this one along the building?
Yeah,
there was a fabric put down, a wire fabric, I forgot what it's called.
Plastic mesh fabric,
Right.
landscape fabric when they seeded it. Have you driven by?
yeah.
Yeah.
What is the slope there? Is it 1-on-1? Is it that steep?
I don't know.
The actual slope itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's pretty
exactly.
steep.
It is steep.
Is it gonna stay there, or is it gonna wash on the neighbors?
Well, it's pretty stable now.
Stable now.
No, we're in a drought now.
What?
Drought now, practically.
Well, without this little swale that we put in, it probably, which Stacy really wanted us to do, I think it's possible that it would have washed out, but now I think we're in pretty good shape. And we're really not talking about a lot of water coming around. We do have gutters, downspouts, leaders. The roof water is taken back to the rainwater catchment.
So it doesn't go off the building?
Correct. Well, to the maximum extent that the gutters will handle
It's
it.
also planted pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So as far as stormwater and everything else, we're still okay, and
It works. Yeah.
still works okay.
I think it's better. Better than the original design.
Of course. I think, just to be kosher, we should send it up to county. I think I can get it on the July agenda. I don't think there was an impact before. This will be even less of an impact from a review, but it gets there, that part completed, and then we can, if we're comfortable with everything, and there's no county impact, we can go forward on the project. So, I guess first motion is, have a motion to send the amended site plan for 231 Main Street to county.
So moved. I will, second, or motion?
You make the motion.
Make the motion?
Second.
And Peter will second it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. If it comes back from the county with no county impact, do you want to see it again?
No impact.
Then make a motion that that we approve the modifications to 231 Main Street, and that we authorize the chairman to sign off on the plans under the condition that there is no county impact after county review.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
If county didn't have any problems with it first time around, do you think there's going to be any situation second time around? So
I
it's
don't
just
think so.
a motion to move forward?
Formality.
Formality?
Yeah.
Does that hold
So-
up anything?
It holds up our conditional certificate of occupancy.
Does it?
They should go to county the first Wednesday in July, which is July 2nd. And if it comes out with no county impact, The board has authorized me to sign off on the plans for your CO.
Could there be a TCO granted of any kind?
You have to talk to Stacy about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, now the ball's in Stacy's court in that way?
Yep.
There's no bond required or anything like that, correct?
Unless you want to post one.
I don't really feel like. All right, so now it's back to Stacy's. Gotcha. Very good, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll be at the county meeting, so I will know 10 o'clock Wednesday night.
Yes.
There's no county impact on that,
So July,
No, if anything,
Second.
they should level, so.
okay?
very good.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
thanks, Rick, thanks. Extra space storage. All right, Dave, go ahead.
Bad news.
The simplified site plan we got for the application.
The simplified site plan needs to fall under the category where it's a type 2 action, which we usually can find a building that's, the work is less than 4,000 square feet, and this is 5,400, panels are 5,400, so just missed that criteria, it hit everything else.
Do you think to make their lives easier, they just want to make it smaller?
Well, I don't have a here to talk to.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
We'll contact them to see if they want to go to 4,000 for the installation, and then we can proceed with a simplified site plan. Or, if we can't get them, I would like to make a motion that we send this to county as a site plan, to see what any county impact on that.
What are the implications of it being larger, like this 4,000 number? If we're plus 4, above 4,000, what are the
Well,
drawbacks?
it's a criteria that whether it needs county planning board review. So there's certain criteria you have to meet, and it's trying to segregate meaningful projects that the county wants to see versus any other project on it. But we've gone through accessory apartments, detached apartments, Wood County, dropping out a review of those things on it. But right now, the criteria, it's on a state road, there's a couple of things like that. I don't have them in front of me, land referral, but the 4,000 foot was the size that has come up with by county, that if it's less than that, it's not necessary for them to see it because it won't have any county impact.
That's also the criteria on seeker. Type 2 is 4,000 or below for a non-residential building.
So it's,
Well, if it's more than that, it's not automatically a type 1, it'll still be a type
It's not a type 1, it'd be an unlisted.
2. I mean, this one.
so two things we'll do, to make a motion to send it to county for their review. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
We'll need an EAF to send along with this to the county too, if we can get that from them.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll need an EAF on that if it goes to the county. Or we'll contact them, Kelly, and tell them that, they're at 5,400 and the criteria for simplified site plan is 4,000. So if they want to stick with what they have, then we need a short form or an environmental assessment form for the project. If they wish to drop down to 4,000 on it, we'll modify the plan and put it on next month's agenda.
doesn't lead to like a segmentation of like, well, 4,000 now and
1,400 later?
1,400 later, you know?
That's a good idea.
We'll note on that one. Okay. Next up, our favorite project, the ongoing saga. What do you want to do, folks?
Well, they've done things.
Yes, they've done some things. So,
So
Give a report from
there,
Stacy
no
as
one's
to-
here from K&E. Okay.
no, as usual. They have removed the
Building.
the building in the back. They've cleaned up the facade a little bit. But that's all they,
We just know that from
from
our
seeing it.
own personal observations.
Right.
We don't have a formal report that,
Still looks like a mess, but
How's the escrow fund?
the escrow fund,
Paid up or?
are they paid up? Yeah, well,
So our options are give them another extension or what? I don't even know where we are.
we could disapprove the project, right?
We can let the approval expire.
Let the approval expire. I think,
Yeah, I mean, this is the 80 millionth chance,
yeah,
literally.
this goes on forever.
yeah. And he wasn't gonna do that anyway.
We, putting our escrow deck in jeopardy here?
Yeah, probably.
What? Wow.
We'll do it this way. How about we keep it open, with a reminder that, we're gonna close out, the project, doesn't bring the escrow account up. Everybody, you'll stop working on it. Both Dave and, George will stop working on it until,
That seems pretty simple.
okay, see, that's what I thought. And I guess, well, I'll get the total, what the total is, and report back next
What
week.
are we gonna do? Lock the doors?
Yeah, all right.
Well, at least we have to motivate him to do
I'd
something.
rather try and get the money.
Yeah, all right. We'll put it on, we'll postpone it, we'll just push it off to next month's agenda. Oh, my goodness, we're already up to the fourth one, and geez, it's not even 7:30 yet. This is one of kind of
Here
the
comes-
records that ever happen every once in a while.
Here comes the media.
Okay. Let's get up to speed on where we are in Wildberry Lodge. You guys want to tell us? George, want to tell us? Who's got, we got the,
In the last couple of weeks, we have reviewed a draft scoping outline, which was submitted by the applicant based on Crossroads. Dave's office and I have made some recommendations for changes. Jennifer has reviewed it and provided an updated, revised version of the scoping outline on Friday, which will be available to you electronically. And it's a draft at this point. It is the applicant's draft of what they propose the EIS to address. Sets the parameters for an EIS. Have all of you been on the board since 2011? Many
Yeah,
of
I
you
think that's when-
have dealt with the scoping outline for Park Point.
Yeah.
Those who haven't, well, this will be your first. So at this point, you have a document that I believe and Dave believes is adequate to serve as a draft for purposes of public input. Generally, you provide some opportunity for the public to participate through a scoping session. And as, in conjunction with that, the applicant has proposed the DIS, and you would be decking the project to formalize that and circulating notice of the deck and the proposed scoping session to involve agencies and make it available to the public. So that's where we are tonight.
So what we would send it out for a 30-day comment period to the involved agencies. We could set up a public comment session for 30 days or the last meeting in July. And we could set aside to that to see what public comments we get in on a scoping document, our review internally of the scoping document, and then coming up with a scoping, a finalized scoping document, sending the applicant off to fulfill those requirements. So that's kind of the layout of the plans. This site has has been seen numerous times in the past as a site for various applications. Well, just the Crossroads was the last full application of that with the scoping document. So why don't you, from there, lead us on to what you put into the scoping document.
You want to go through the scoping document?
Yeah, just like a high level.
Basically, use that scoping document as the basis for this scoping document, along with input that your professionals had regarding some recent projects, some language that had been adopted recently, I think for Park Point and so forth. And we try to weave some of that into this document so that it has some of the flavor of the current board and addressed all the items that were found to be potential impacts in the Part 2 of the long-form EAF. So basically, this is the table of contents for what's going to be the environmental impact statement. And we start out with the introduction, which will basically describe the project, description of the action, location of the action, talk about the guidelines for preparation of the DEIS and where that's found in state law and what we need to follow. And we lay out the information that's needed on the various parts of the EAF, including the cover sheet, table of contents. And then we get into the meat of the DEIS with the executive summary, where we summarize all the findings of the environmental impact statement, a detailed description of the action, a detailed description of the site location and the use, and then again a little more detail regarding the design and layout of the site. And it breaks it down into total site area, structures, parking, vehicular, pedestrian, circulation. We've added in here bicycle paths, planned greenway trails in that, under that category, which is something that was brought up by your consultants. We'll discuss in detail the landscape and the lighting and the utilities, and this is under the executive summary. So this is all a summary of all these items. Construction project phasing, operation and maintenance of the project, what permits and approvals are required. There's already a list basically started, and as I can see, there's several between local, county, and state approvals, as well as federal jurisdictional determination. Requirement of the EIS is that we include the project purpose, need, benefit. Discussion on that. And then Part 3 is we get into the meat and potatoes, I guess, of the document, which is its study of each of the potential individual environmental impacts, and it's categorized below that. And we will discuss existing conditions, what the potential impacts are, and if needed, what mitigation will be proposed to mitigate any of those potential impacts to the greatest extent possible. We'll do that for land. Water resources, we'll discuss things as wetlands, stormwater, so forth. Groundwater. There'll be a discussion about plants and animals. There basically has been determined to be nothing of significance on the site, but there was a study that was previously done, so we'll summarize that and discuss the fact that there wasn't anything there, so that the record's complete on that. Aesthetic resources, what is it going to look like from various viewpoints, what kind of landscaping are we going to, what kind of materials are going to be used to construct the building. That'll be discussed in detail. Lighting, again, landscaping. And under aesthetics, we also included odor because there was the potential for odor from the sewer treatment plant. That was one of the things triggered in the Part 2 of the environmental assessment form. Historic and archaeological resources. We're going to have a brief discussion here. There wasn't anything that was found of significance other than some potential historic buildings in the Hamlet area, just on Ohioville, just north and east of the project.
Again, when you say there's been a study out there, we're referring back to when they did Crossroads.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
So that'll be incorporated either by reference or we'll actually incorporate that
Only a couple
study.
bodies that remembers Crossroads. Okay?
Couple bodies. So we'll either incorporate that document fully or we'll reference it, one or the other. We'll make a decision. I think we're probably just going to incorporate it fully, just as easy initially anyway. Transportation, there will be a new traffic study conducted based on what the current proposal is. It's significantly different and it's significantly less traffic than what was previously proposed on the property, so that'll be analyzed, and the potential access points are the same, but their configuration has changed slightly, so those will be analyzed.
In terms of when you were here last time, we discussed the possibility of reaching out to the Thruway Authority and looking for that formula in terms of accessing the property via Parodies through the Toll Plaza Road. I think Dave was suggesting that there is some sort of formula, and he was
Yep, we have not reached out to them yet at this point, but we will as part of this, and I don't know that
They're
George has
included as-
included them
yeah.
on the circulation for this, so they'll be apprised of the project through the scope and the POS deck notice that you're going to send out if you do that this evening. And we'll follow up so that we can incorporate any feedback they have in the document.
I'm also curious, you mentioned some of the Park Point environmental impacts and how you were mindful of them when you were looking at this document. What in particular?
Well, I think
did you
that's
glean?
fiscal, which he's going
Yeah.
to get to in a few minutes.
Yeah, that was more in the fiscal section. George had identified some language that he thought was useful to be incorporated, really was kind of, because of the
Fiscal-
pilot that we're looking for and so
Fiscal
forth. Yeah.
impacts
Yeah.
and how
the
fiscal
pilot.
impacts relate to our community.
Yep.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the nuts and bolts of the groundwater and land and things of that sort is site-specific, and like I said, Crossroads was, looked at some of those things, so he has those things to fall back on. Where he's made major modifications, community character, fiscal impacts, and taking that from our last study, so we get the information in the DEIS rather than, 6 months later, or a year later, whenever we got it. So that's the thrust of where he's going, but I won't take it from him. Go ahead.
Yep. Land use and zoning, as we know, there needs to be a modification to the zoning. So we're looking at a floating zone potentially for this, so that'll be discussed. Community services will be discussed. Water supply, sanitary services, drainage, gas, solid waste, emergency services, and then a fiscal analysis is what we were talking about. As you know, we're looking for a pilot, so part of that language that was included in Park Point was incorporated into here because of that, so make sure it's consistent so that we're looking at things consistently from one application to the next, especially as it applies to the pilot.
Right, and you're looking for a pilot category that has existed for several years.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right, so it's going to be the same, what George asked us to do was specify similar methodology, meeting the standards of the American Planning Association, and that's specified right here in the scope, so it's clear the methodology that we have to follow. It is a very different type of pilot, and that will, of course, be discussed, but the overall
A different
methodology
pilot
of-
versus what?
versus Park Point,
Oh,
the one
okay.
that Park Point is applying for, so.
Yeah, that was
But
my-
that all has to be described in here, and the impact on the town in terms of not only services, but in light of the tax cap applicable principles. So it's all set forth in the scope.
Yep. Yeah, heck, we shouldn't have to repeat it. The same questions we had before.
We did incorporate a full section on energy resources and sustainable design, as we had mentioned at the initial presentation for the project so that that can be thoroughly addressed. And then we move on to the alternative section, which is a required section of the secret document, which talks about no action alternative, alternative plans, alternative zoning, and alternative water and sewer service.
So you have an opportunity to read over the scoping document, mark it up. It's going out for comment from everybody, to the involved agencies. We'll make a notice that we'll have a public comment session on our July meeting to get input from anybody and everybody who has any comments on it. We'll firm up our discussion on it and what we want to see included or excluded, and then we'll let them go develop the DEIS. But read it over and just, kind of mark it up, kind of hit the points you want to talk about. So we'll schedule that meeting on it. How are we doing on the zoning change? George? Jennifer? Joe? Oh, I knew I missed one.
Well, we're still working on that.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion with Dennis Doyle. I think we set that aside for the moment to concentrate on working on the draft scope, but it's certainly proceeding apace.
And again, from a site plan review of it, you don't want to get them disjointed.
No, I agree.
Okay?
I think we all agree.
Whatever's into that zoning code is what we're going to be basing the site plan on, so we've got to be consistent. That's all I'm looking
Right.
for. So I didn't want to get ahead on one side and try to catch up the other way around on it, so.
From our client's perspective, the project, as you said, has been studied. The property's been studied significantly. We think this is comprehensive scope, so we hope we don't need to add a lot. Take a look, but we think there's been a lot of work done. Hopefully, we can capture it here. We've captured the comments. We can move forward.
Yep, well, that's why we mentioned up front is to turn it around. I mean, there's a lot of the studies, I don't expect you to take a year to do the DEIS, but that's for my speculation.
We hope not.
But the board changes entirely by the time people come back. Anyhow, but yeah, I think, like I said, this site's been reviewed numerous times, and a lot of the issues that everybody's addressed one time or another on it, so you know what it is.
Appreciate
So
that.
Well, one of the issues that I think you're much more intensive in water use than Crossroads was.
Less, actually.
Less?
Yep. Crossroads was 95, 96,000, I'm saying off the top of my head. We're probably 75. So.
Okay.
Per what?
Okay.
Yep.
Per what? Per day.
Per day. Yeah. Yep. I'm sorry. Yeah, engineers know that's per day, but yeah, that's
No, no.
per day basis. Yep.
all right, I think now we have on our table. Go ahead, George.
Could adopt a resolution adopting the Paltz deck, authorizing it to be circulated. We could set a public scoping session for the whichever meeting, and you can actually do it sooner than 30 days. I think the board has traditionally done that. 30 days is the lead agency requirement. At whichever meeting in July you wish, you could set the public scoping for that. Authorize the secretary to publish a notice if you believe that's desirable. She could also contact the guy in the back row there and make sure he can put a little blurb into the paper. And we can have.
I love these formal discussions. Haven't done the guy in the back row. I want to pick on you, Mike. All right.
Those options are open.
Right. I think what I would like to do is, we know there are issues on the site that require us to do a scoping outline and draft environmental impact statement, so I would accept a motion to pause deck without going through every one of these issues that we know that already exist there. Accept a motion to pause deck the Wildberry Lodge Water Park Recreation Resort, and to move forward with an environmental impact statement for the project.
It's a type 1.
Anybody gonna move it?
Motion?
Yep.
Second.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Did we declare ourselves a lead agency?
You already.
Yeah, we did that.
Okay, because I saw a memo from the Thruway Authority that the town of Newburgh is a lead agency.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
They forgot to
Well,
change
no
that part of the
plus,
letter.
No balls. Thruway's 580 miles long, man. It's one town
At
after
least they were
another.
close.
Same
I'd like
reason.
to tell them to be lead agency, believe now and maybe make sure.
Make their money.
So, I will schedule the, let's see, I gotta count days. What's the second meeting in July? 28th? 28th? Yep, 28th. Okay. I'd rather do it on the 28th as a public comment session, because I'll have issues that I won't have to deal with on July 14th, okay? And my building's only so big, and it'll go on forever. So we'll open it up for a public comment session on the scoping. We'll post it, stand up on our website. We'll put this, the draft document up there, and have people access to it and notification that it's up there for people to review in town. And we'll go from there.
While I have you, Jane Samuelson from my office, I just wanted to introduce her. She'll be taking the lead on the EIS, so in my absence, if you have questions, she'll be...
Or I should go directly to her rather than you can probably get the straight answer
That's right.
first, Sam. Rather than you going to check with her first. Jane, just make sure Kelly has your, the stuff, your information on it, so we can get back and forth on that one. That would work out well. Okay.
Mike, I have a question.
Sure.
Going back to the previous attempt at that site, like, who owns that information? And if we never accepted it, have we accepted that that information is true, even though we never...
You mean back to when Crossroads was submitting their draft environmental impact statement?
If we
Actually,
never got to
DEIS
the point
was
of
accepted
accepting this,
as complete. The DEIS
Was accepted as
complete.
You were there, I wasn't.
I don't remember.
We had a public hearing, and there was about 250 people in the audience up at the college. They're actually preparing the FEIS, that's what they said. So they did, was accepted as complete, but it's going to be, I think it's just going to be incorporated, actually, the reports themselves will be incorporated, all language will be new, all the text of the DEIS will be new text specifically for this project, but the reports will be basically appendix to the document.
Who's doing it? So-
The geology doesn't change.
The geology doesn't change, groundwater can change.
Right.
Traffic,
So-
utilities, wetlands, all those things can change.
Are you doing a fiscal impact statement?
It'll be a fiscal impact study that'll be an appendix to the document, yeah.
Who will do
Right.
that?
Who will do that?
Yeah.
Depends on how sophisticated we want to get into the details of it. It'll probably be done by my office, or we'll have a consultant that works with us prepare that.
So read it closely, Tim, make sure that we get the questions in up front rather than asking them afterwards, so
Yep.
make sure they can drill in and get that stuff.
You may be somebody with a different market
A different marketing background?
basket.
Some less prone to hyperbole?
Honest. All right, I'm glad you all came, but
Well, we're all interested.
I kind of figured you would be, but I do appreciate it. I just, again, from our standpoint, half of the board has gone through a scoping. 2 of the board members were here for Crossroads. That was kind of like on the tail end of it. Members were here on the end of a DEIS and the end of an FEIS. So they were trying to ask questions about the project that we scoped a year and a half before.
Right.
So I think reading the scoping document and knowing what they've done from Park Point will get a
I mean,
clear
I think
perspective.
use these guys as a great resource if you have questions about whether it's in there or not, or you don't understand where it's in there. I think these guys.
Don't ask me, I wasn't involved.
No, in here, you were involved with it.
Okay.
Here.
Well, I thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
And
very
keep it
much.
up. And,
And we're glad we're all involved with doing this scoping, and hopefully we'll all be together as we go through the entire review process.
well, we want
in
to
a
be
timely
clear.
fashion.
We, you know, and again, from our perspective on it, if there's something in there that you're going off and studying and not really sure what the board is looking for, come back, say, hey,
Yeah,
look, I need clarification, this is what we got on this one component, is it what you're looking for, and we can go back and look at, rather than wait till, okay, here's the DEIS, and then we're sitting and saying, oh, that's not what we wanted on that
Right,
stuff,
right.
So if there's, you don't have to wait for the whole report to be complete, if you got one area that you really want to sit down with the board and talk about
Right.
before you finalize it in DEIS, okay?
Right, absolutely, and I think one of the purposes of the DEC, and now as it's working on revising the seeker regulations, is to get EISs focused on the key points, right? Traffic, the water, alternatives on water, the alternatives on sewer, visual, what's it gonna look like? And not just have hundreds and hundreds of pages. You could really hone in on that. And of course, the fiscal impact, that's very important.
And, you know, one of the things to keep in mind, and I'm not opposed to it, is sections of it coming that you think are, you know, nearly complete.
Yeah.
And rather than us trying to read, okay, here's the document, plump, okay, let me know when it's complete, then we have to start from, you know, then it just adds to the timeline.
That would be very helpful.
So, keep that option open.
We appreciate that. That-
Especially,
You can do that with the reports, it's hard to do that with the text because of the
oh, yeah, oh, no, I just, you know,
No, but
a
the
slight narrative on it, that we've got this, you know, these are, you know, and again, from a highlight point of view, I know you're gonna write the text, the narrative of the whole study on it, but the information that you have that may be helpful on it, or a study that you got in, or just had done, and you wanna talk to the board about sections of it, that would be helpful to get everybody on board.
appreciate it.
Yes, that would be very helpful to us too, and we always, applicants do feel badly when they deliver a document this thick, you know, 10 minutes before the holidays or something, with your Thanksgiving turkey, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, so, keep it in mind, we're open for that thing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, you guys are all on board today. No, we never get them out that fast.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay.
Nice
Take it, Steve.
if it ends while it's still light.
Ah,
Are you making out all right?
Do we have to go into executive?
not yet.
Can I ask one question about that project? They're not doing the zoning before seeker, right? Like, isn't that segmentation? When they're talking about zoning? If they're-
No, I don't think it is, but I'll-
If they're doing zoning before seeker, isn't that segmentation?
No,
Like,
they're
right,
not
it's
doing it before, Joe and I are working with Jennifer to provide a draft zoning outline.
But
that
it's
would
not going
basically
anywhere.
Be what we would propose, and then look at some alternatives in the process.
Okay.
and then, you know, then we'd have some recommendations to the town board. The town board would have to conduct a hearing on the zoning amendments before their approval on it. I just want us to be in sync with what's in that zoning amendment, because we're doing site plan,
Yeah.
and the zoning change would be in place prior to us doing site plan or completing site plan on it.
Okay.
So, because you gotta be against some
Yeah.
zone reg
Yeah.
that you're doing it,
In order-
so.
yeah.
So you'll see it a couple of different ways, and when you're reviewing a project and you see something in the zoning reg and you say, well, how's that match, or does it or doesn't it? It's an opportunity to discuss, do we change the zoning amendment, or do we change the site plan, or which was the better way to go?
Okay.
All right. Next up, Hampton Inn.
Okay. Hampton Inn is in the process of obtaining the necessary permits and approvals to start demolition work. And we've been in, talked to Stacy. Stacy's okay with the demolition permit. She's reviewed that with the applicant. What they're proposing to do is take the building down, move it off-site, and then grind up there's stone walls on the site that are within the building. Those would be ground up and used for fill on the property. At some point in the summer, the applicant will have submitted its full building plans. Stacy will have reviewed those and will be opportunity to issue a building permit. But for now, what they need is the demolition permit. The approval resolution was designed in 2010 to make sure all of the things would be dotted and crossed. So there is a condition in the approval resolution which requires, prior to the issuance of a demolition permit, the site plan be signed. There is another condition that says in order to have the site plan signed, there has to be approval of a bond amount by the planning board and approval of a developer's agreement by the town board that's acceptable to the planning board. So Joe Moriello and I have had a discussion last week with Wayne Graff to put all those pieces in place. It's going to take a while to get the developer's agreement signed by the town board, but Joe has provided a draft of the document which is addressing all of the issues of concern to the planning board as it expressed it in that resolution. So how the traffic will be coordinated, police services for any construction activity that may require controlling the South Putt County Road. All of those things have been addressed in the draft developers agreement, but it has to be worked into final form and submitted to the town board. I do have copies of that document as well. Those who are interested in perusing it, it's 8 pages of scintillating reading, single spaced.
You're exaggerating again.
So what the board can do tonight to move the process forward for Hampton Inn is to approve a bond for the demolition work. In the amount, I believe, Wayne has proposed is $30,000. Dave can advise you on that.
What is the value?
We did a takeoff of the demo, and then I asked to check against the proposal that they got. Gave me a copy of the proposal. It's a well-known firm that does demolition. It was significantly less than our takeoff. I looked at the terms and conditions on that. There's some minor things that have to be done in addition to that. They're very minor. Putting up silt fence around whatever's left. There's no asbestos in the building, which was a little bit of a surprise. So the demo permit was the demo proposal was $28,200. We're asking for $30,000. The site is fenced, so the security is not an issue that's going to be of concern. I want to make sure that if anybody gets hit by a bus, the town is not out. The reason the price was so low on the demo is the person that's doing the demo is taking the building and reusing it, which is a good thing. The other good thing is they're not disposing a lot of materials off-site. They're grinding up the foundations and using that as part of the fill for the site. So both of those reduce costs.
What about the road there? Will there be access on trucks, dumpsters, things like that? What's the condition of that road?
The county
Be
road.
straight across from ShopRite and the shoulder and all that.
Tell you about the entrance to the site.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a county road, and they have to put up the construction entrance before they start, which is going to keep any tracking off the road. To do whatever environmental pieces they have to do. There's very little that comes off-site that's being done.
it's a potential for noise and dust.
There is.
Aggravate for the neighbors.
Tracy's been mindful of that.
It'll be short-term, but there will be some noise, some dust.
And they do,
No,
I
it's
think Stacey said they would require a
Water truck.
water truck as a condition of the demolition.
How long's the demo take?
I'm going to guess within 2 weeks, when they get in there, they'll be out.
And the 30K, you said 28K is how much it costs to demo this building?
And there's a few more things that need to be done in addition to what his proposal was for. He didn't have, for example, he didn't have silt fences being installed. That needs to be installed.
And you feel that's a lower number because they're going to reuse the building? Like, what would you estimate it would cost if it was just a straight-up demo where they were
Like
taking?
$75,000.
Okay.
Big difference.
Pays to recycle.
It's paid for recycling.
So you're asking the board tonight to approve the restoration bond to do the demo work.
Bond for the demolition,
Right.
30,000.
And that's, well, I mean, we can look at the developer's agreement and come back, but they're still tweaking that. We can read that over, but again, this was approved back in October of 2010.
Yes.
So-
October 25th, 2010.
I know.
Many times in litigation.
Oh, I remember it well.
So this is there a date when they anticipate this taking place? Like
The
if we were,
demo,
yeah.
the demo itself. Stacy talked to the guy, she met with a guy last week. It sounded like it was gonna be a few weeks before he got started, but it was gonna be quick after he did get started.
Nice to get it before school started, get the increased traffic in town and also to the high school.
Right, it seems like summertime would be the optimal time to do this.
I think as soon as they clear their schedule, they're going
Okay.
to want to go right in for this one. And then construction will be sometime next.
Can we include something where we're encouraging them to do it July, August?
If we could say this authorization expires August
Okay.
31st.
Just a little
How are they
fire.
gonna
Oh,
do
come
it
back again.
Until they start construction, are they going to seed it, or are they anticipating starting in the fall?
We're gonna put some seed down, what's left there. Silt fence around. The pavement is not gonna come up.
Maintenance thing from the time the demo until they start, like, they'll be responsible for the site, maintaining the silt fence,
Yeah.
construction fence.
So it's the conditions of the demo.
Yeah.
So,
So we need a motion
We
to
need a motion to
accept that amount.
accept 30,000 for the demo.
So moved. Do we have a date on that? As we talked about? Completed by August 31st.
I don't know what he's going to find. I hate,
Yeah, were
you know.
you joking about that, George?
I was actually, but I'll talk to Stacy and see if we can make it clear it has to be. It should be done by.
Maybe it doesn't
Right.
matter if
Yeah.
how much is coming off site, maybe it doesn't really matter. But it will pale in comparison to the concrete trucks and material going back. in.
Anything, yeah. I have Lyle made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's true, I heard you say.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And no members are absent. Okay. That concludes our planning board meeting. We'll be going into an executive session, and at completion of executive session, we're going to just come out and close the meeting. Okay? So with that, I don't think we need the television anymore. And let's adjourn to the planning board office and go into executive session.
Can we stay here? Because there's
Good, but I have the wrong people.
Gotta get away from the paparazzi over there.
Oh, boy. I don't know if it does a positive thing or a negative thing for the board.
You need to know what the exec session's about? Don't we have to have a category to?
Sure. Litigation.